Hello, welcome to the Evil Sheep channel. My name is Stephen. So this channel's been around for about 5 years or so. I started it with my daughter Celine when we had a small production company called Evil Sheep, and so we had the YouTube channel, and we've really done not much with it over the last couple of years. I've put some podcasts up there which was related to our Cult Hackers podcast, which you can still catch through this YouTube channel, or you can listen to it on the normal podcast apps. But I thought, well, do you know what? This is sitting around doing nothing, and I kind of enjoy doing YouTube stuff, so I'm going to use it. I've not really got any idea what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to talk about things that interest me. And the thing that's been interesting me over the last couple of days is that it's possible we've found alien life. So today's date is the 17th of April. And over the last couple of days, we've been looking at news reports that is saying that it's possible, strongest evidence yet, that we've found life on another planet. I won't get into the science of that. I haven't really read up properly about it yet. I'm going to do that, but I haven't looked at exactly what the science is. But I thought today I would just ponder over what would happen if we did find life. So that's the question for today. What would happen if we found life on another planet? So, first of all, I think it would depend what sort of life. So the life that this new discovery or possible discovery has found is actually just likely to be microbial or just very simple life. So we're not expecting civilizations. We're just expecting that maybe there's simple life there that is producing the sort of atmosphere that we would expect if we found life. So that's fascinating though, isn't it? Imagine that. So let's start with that one. What would happen if we found absolute evidence that we found life on another planet? So clearly, in the world that we live in, the world would be split into various different factions. There'd be some people that were, I suppose, like me, just be really excited and want to learn everything I could about this new life. And I'd be following the papers that would be written. I'd be reading everything, watching television programs dedicated to this. And it would be absolutely fascinating. I would love it. But there'd also be, I'm sure, lots of people who would deny that this had happened at all. So we'd have the conspiracy theorists who would set up their own YouTube channels and use their existing ones to talk about this great conspiracy theory that this isn't actually what's happened at all, and they'd spin different stories about what they think is actually happening. So I'm sure that would be the case. I think there would also be some people would find it really difficult. So various different religious beliefs might find it difficult to accommodate this idea that there's life on another planet. And that could be to do with the fact that, they might believe that God created this planet as the place where life exists, and everything else is lifeless. I think a lot of religions would be able to accommodate the idea of life on other planets. Actually, for instance, the Bible doesn't really say anything about it, other than you could say things like angels and demons and all of that. That's extraterrestrial life that is claimed in the Bible. But in terms of life on other planets, there's not really any direct quotes that you could give that says one way or the other. So I guess lots of Christians would say, okay, that's fine. God created this and that life as well. So I think if we found life like that, simple life, then I think most people would go, right, that's quite interesting. There'd be your odd fringe contingent who would spin all sorts of weird stories, but I think for most people they show mild interest, and then a few nerds like me would be very, very interested and want to know more. But I don't think it would upset the sort of psychology of nations and people. Now, if we found life that was intelligent, I think that would be very different. So if we found life that had civilizations or a civilization, and that we could communicate with this life form, I think then that would be a game changer. I think that would be very, very different. So that would be different because all sorts of insecurities would come out. So I think people would be, first of all, very, very frightened. The idea of life that we didn't know existed. All sorts of questions would be raised. What would happen if they decided to attack us? And of course, that's straight away what people would think is going to happen. So what's going to happen to us? Are we going to be taken over by aliens? So all of that sort of thing would be on people's mind. It's not a stupid worry. I think it's quite a legitimate concern. Also, the world's religions would probably have a problem with it, because it would challenge, I think, a lot of the orthodoxy and established ideas around God and his creation and so on. So unless this civilization actually said, well, actually we are Christians, or we're Muslims, then of course a part of the earth's religious believers would be highly delighted with that. But I think that's unlikely. My personal feeling is that that's unlikely. What's most likely to happen is that they don't believe in a God at all, or that they have their own religious sort of framework. So anyway, that would create quite a lot of problems. And again, I think the fear and anger and defence of religious belief would mean that I think there'll be quite a lot of potential violence and disturbance, and I think that would be very, very difficult. Now, of course, in Star Trek, they have the Prime Directive for this very reason. So when Captain Jean-Luc Picard, or whoever it is, goes off, visits a planet, unless that planet has developed warp drive, which means they can get to other planets, they have a policy of non-interference for this very reason, because the appearance of aliens who are more technologically advanced would be a quite damaging appearance. So I think if we found life, intelligent life, that would be quite disruptive. And it'd be fascinating, exciting, interesting, but it would also be a very difficult time for humanity. So there's no likelihood of that happening. What the researchers have found is that there's certain pointers in the atmosphere of a particular planet that is suggesting that life exists there. Now, the article I read says that there's a good chance within a few years we'll have confirmation one way or another. So if that does come back with positive, or as a positive, then that's going to be really fascinating. And I think all sorts of efforts will be made to see if we can send little mini robots there to find out as much as we can about the planet. But that's going to be very, very difficult, because it's going to be a long way away. We don't have the technology to get there, but I think it would be very, very interesting. So let's hope. I hope so. Fingers crossed. All right, so that's as much as I'm going to talk about today. I hope you find these little videos interesting. I'm going to carry on doing them for a while. If you kind of like it, if you think, oh, that's quite amusing, or I want more of this or more of that, or you've got some topics you want me to address, then I will. If I start to get a following, then I might start getting guests on and talking about various different topics. We had a fairly successful podcast called Cult Hackers. I mentioned that already. You can look at the back catalogue of that through, or at least listen to it. We don't have any video on most of them. But if you're interested in those topics, then let me know. I don't particularly want to get into the cult space too much again. I did that for 3 years, and because of my own background in that area, I found it quite hard on me personally, my mental health. So I don't mind talking about it every now and again, and I'm happy to go back, visit it from time to time. But for now anyway, I'd kind of like to explore other topics. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for listening. Come back, let me know what you think and what topics to cover. See you soon.